What's going on, everybody? Shimmering Skies comes out in less than 1 week, and we are going to take a look at all of the Sapphire cards and rank every single one of them from 34th all the way to 1st. This is a part of an ongoing series. I have already done the Amber cards, so go ahead and feel free to check out that video when you are done with this one. And if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe for some more Lorcana content. Before we jump into the list, let's go ahead and list the strengths that blue is known for. Now, Sapphire as a color is known for its ramp. If you don't know what ramp means, it basically means your ability to play cards, or the amount of mana you can get, the amount of ink you can get, the amount of resources you can get. All of those things are called ramp, and they help you play more cards and more powerful cards faster. Sapphire is also known to have a very strong draw engine. There's a lot of cards that have independent draw powers, as well as, of course, Flavorsham, which has been in every single Sapphire deck since the start of the game. Sapphire, however, is not known to have a lot of removal. It is very difficult for Sapphire to deal damage based on actions, and it's very, very hard for Sapphire to remove other people's items. So keep that in mind as we make this list going forward. The first part of my ranking is called the trash bin. Now, the trash bin is called the trash bin because I think that they are just decent cards. They might have some usage in very unique theme decks and stuff, but in general, there's other cards that make them obsolete. Starting off with Chaka, Impressive Daughter. It is a 4-cost 4/3 that quests for 2 lore. It has very decent stats, but it's still a little bit underpowered for a vanilla card, and also it doesn't have very good tags. It only has Storyborn and Ally, which to this day we don't have any synergies with. The Queen, Cruelest of All. It is a 2-cost 0/4 with Ward. I just don't really see why you would ever need a 2-cost that has 0 attack and Ward. Maybe if you're running an all Queen deck and you just want some other shift targets, but that's not going to be very good at the moment. Prince John, Opportunistic Briber. It is a 3-cost 1/5. Whenever you play an item, this character gets +2 strength this turn. This is a little interesting because you can get it multiple times in a turn to make him even a 5 or 7 strength character, but it's just a little too hard to make him actually work. The Queen, Crown of the Council. This is a 4-cost uninkable 3 strength 2 willpower that has Ward. When you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of character cards named the Queen and put them in your hands. Again, this is one of those cards where if you're running an all Queen deck, I guess maybe you have to run it, but you don't really want to ever, I guess. Now for the worst card that Lorcana has ever printed. This is Minnie Mouse Quick Thinking Inventor. 1-cost, uninkable, 1 strength, 2 willpower. When you play this character, chosen character gets -2 strength this turn. It only quests for 1 lore. I cannot believe how bad this card is. I cannot think of a single use where this is useful. Maybe if you're running like Ruby Sapphire and you need to like get a 4 strength character down to 2 strength so you can brawl it, and it's a cheap way to do that. But other than that, like, that's so crazy. I don't know. There's way better cards in the 1 slot. Tanana, Wise Woman. When you play this character, you may remove up to 1 damage from chosen character or location. Like I've said in the Amber video, I don't think that healing is that good yet, so I don't really see a reason to play a card that only heals 1. Royal Tantrum, banish any number of your items, then draw a card for each item banished this way. I think this is a very good effect, but a 4-cost uninkable is very expensive for at the moment, so I don't see this getting used, but it might if you have a lot of items in your deck. All Fund Out, put chosen character of yours into your inkwell face down and exerted. I really wish this card was better because I love the artwork on it. However, losing a card in your hand and losing a card from your field just to get 1 ink in your inkwell is not worth it. Medal of Heroes, pay 2, banish this item, and chosen character gets +2 lore this turn. I guess it's a way to get instant lore for, going for game or something, but it's very expensive to use. You're using a total of 4 ink just for 2 lore once. I don't like it. Basil's Magnifying Glass. Pay 2. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it in your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This is basically Scuttle, and I think I would rather have the ability on Scuttle, just a one-time get a body on the field, rather than have it be on an item when you'd rather use this 2 ink to do anything else. Finally, the last card in the trash bin is Merlin's Carpetbag. Tap 1, pay 1, return an item card from your discard to your hand. I think this is just way too expensive. You're paying 5 uninkable for this 1 item, and also you have to pay 1 every turn to get an item card once per turn from your discard. There's better cards that do this anyway. I feel like if you're at this point in the game, you probably have a Tamatoa pretty soon, so I don't think this is that useful. All right, what do you think about the list so far? Let me know down in the comments below if you think that any of these trash bin cards are going to be staples and I'm just completely mistaken. The next tier in this ranking system is the budget bin. These are cards that probably aren't going to be super expensive, but they will be powerful enough to go into some decks. Maybe they have combos with more powerful cards and so on. So let's go ahead and get started with the budget bin. First off, we have King Candy, Sovereign of Sugar. It is a 1-cost 2/2, 1 lore. It is the vanilla stat line for a card, and it is the perfect shift target for the King Candy Floodborn that I'll be going over later in the video. Merlin, back from Bermuda. This is a 4-cost. Your character is named Arthur. Game resist +1. The thing about this Merlin is that it's really not good on its own at all, but there is the Merlin Floodborn that's also in blue that is coming out that has the ability where you can get any card from your deck. So this is kind of just the shift target in blue if you have to have a shift target, but it is still very expensive for a shift target, and it's rough. They need to make more Merlin cards for that to be upgraded. Pacha, Emperor's Guide. This is a 3-cost 0/4. At the start of your turn, if you have an item, gain 1 lore. At the start of your turn, if you have a location, gain 1 lore. It's just passive lore gain. You can't really go wrong with passive lore gain. He also quests for 2, so he has the potential to get you 4 lore per turn if you're running the right deck and the right combos. I think it's pretty good. The Queen, Fairest of All. This is a 5-cost shift 3 with Ward. For each other character named the Queen you have in play, this character gains 1 lore. So if you're running this all the Queen deck, I guess, this could be a very good card. There's a lot of other Queen cards that you could have in play to make it pretty beefy with lore. A Floodborn that shifts 3 and also has 6 health with Ward is pretty good, though. You can't really go wrong with a card like that. Cusco, Selfish Emperor, 6-cost. When you play this character, you may put chosen item or location into player's inkwell face down and exerted. You can also pay 4 ink, and your other characters gain resist +1 until the start of your next turn. He does quest for 2 lore. The thing about Cusco right now is that it does give you some item and location removal, which is much needed in blue. The problem is it's very expensive, and it's not a Floodborn. So I don't think it's going to get a lot of play in that 6 slot, but you may see some people running 1 or 2 of them. Ludwig von Drake, 5-cost, 4/4, quests for 3 lore. Pretty much the vanilla stat line, and it is a very good vanilla stat line. It's actually pretty difficult to get rid of this card, but unfortunately, the only reason it's not in the top 10 is because it doesn't have good tags. Storyborn and Ally just don't really have synergies with anything else, so you can't protect it as well as you can other cards. Tipo, Growing Sun. Now, the thing about Tipo is that his wording is kind of confusing. I don't think we've gotten an official ruling yet. But the way that Tipo works, I think, is that you can play an additional card from your hand into your inkwell face down in the same way that Bell does, meaning it does have to be an inkable card. But I could be wrong because the wording is kind of in between Bell's wording and Fishbone Quill. Anyway, it's a pretty good card. If he can ink any card from your hands, then this is an amazing card. Speaking of Bell, Bell of the Ball, cost 4, uninkable 2/3 with Ward. When you play this character, your other characters gain Ward until the start of your next turn. I think it's decent. It can give your character some protection if you need it for those critical turns where you're very close to winning. However, there is that other Aurora, which is a 5-cost and always gives your characters Ward and also has a bigger body. So I don't know if this card is going to be better than that. It's good for a one-time, but it's very pretty. Vision of the Future. I've heard a lot of discussions about the viability of this card. Is it better than Develop Your Brain? I think not. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. So it's basically twice the cost of Develop Your Brain for an extra couple cards of looking through and choosing. So whether or not you value that is up to you. Ever as before, if I'm reading this right, remove up to 2 damage from any number of chosen characters. I think this means that you get 2 damage from each character you choose, not 2 total damage. In that case, this is one of the best healing cards we've ever seen because it's a song, it only costs 2, and you get 2 healing from every one of your characters. Having more healing cards in blue only makes the Grandpappy decks stronger, so I'm feasting. Hideaway, put chosen item or location into its player's inkwell face down and exerted. Like I said in the beginning of the video, blue has a rough time getting rid of items and locations, so having one that just gets rid of a card and also doesn't banish it is pretty good. And then finally, of course, we have the last 2 locations, the Great Illuminary and the Merlin's Cottage. They're both just solid locations. Merlin's cottage is extremely interesting. One of the funnier interactions of this is that if you play a whole new world, technically you draw one card at a time. So you are required for both players to reveal their entire hand as they draw it to the other person, because you draw a card and then flip and then draw a card and then flip. The Great Illuminary is just another solid location if you're playing support. I think that support characters support characters needed a little bit of juice to get going, and I think support can be really good. So having a location definitely helps. Woo! We are finally into the top 10. All right, the top 10 cards are definitely in order. So these are how I think the powerfulness of the cards are actually going to shape the meta. You probably won't be surprised by the top 3 cards, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Starting off at number 10, might be controversial at number 10, but this is going to be Merlin Intellectual Visionary. The thing about this Merlin is that the ability is fantastic. It's a tutor ability. If you don't know what that means, it's a Magic the Gathering turn. There's a card called Demonic Tutor. It's an old card. It does the same thing. You grab any card you want from your deck. Anyway, the ability is extremely powerful. However, it's so freaking expensive. Merlin is a 6 cost. It shifts for 5, and you do need to use the shift in order to activate the ability. So that's what really makes this ability not so good right now, is that there's just not a lot of good Merlin shift targets. The cheapest shift target you can get is Merlin Squirrel in Amethyst, and that's a 2 cost that doesn't have a good ability at all. And even if it's a 2 cost, you're still paying 2 plus 5 in order to get the shift in play. So it's more expensive than just playing the regular Merlin. As of right now, not a great ability, but when they do eventually make more Merlin cards that are better shift targets, this card is going to be insane. Number 9, Donald Duck Focused Flatfoot. Baffling mystery, when you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. It is Mickey Mouse Detective. I don't think anybody who plays Sapphire is going to complain about having more ramp in their deck, even if it's a 5 cost. It has a pretty solid body, 3/4, questing for 2 lore, so he sits on the board better than Mickey Mouse does. This is just a good card. He has a good ability. And he's inkable. Number 8, Scrooge McDuck Aficionado of Antiquities. 4 cost uninkable with 5/5 and quest for 2 lore. Now, usually this would go into the budget bin. However, it does have the hero tag. That's pretty much the only thing that's keeping it alive at the moment. Having a hero tag is pretty important because blue is one of the best hero-based decks right now. When you combine it with steel, you can make a very powerful blue hero-based deck. So it has good tags. It has a very solid vanilla stat line. It's just a very good card. Prince John Gold Lover. Tap this character, play an item from your hand or discard with a cost 5 or less for free, exerted. Come on, like this card is absolutely nuts. Am I wrong? This card is insane. I think I should honestly put it higher. But imagine you have a Flavor Sham on turn 4, get rid of Popsicle, draw 2 cards. Turn 5, you play Prince John. And then turn 6, you tap Prince John, you bring Popsicle back, you draw a card, and then you Flavor Sham to get rid of Popsicle and draw another 2 cards. You get 3 card draws every turn if you have Prince John and Flavor Sham on the field. And you can do it for any number of items. There's a lot of other items that don't really see play, but might see play if you can play it for free with Prince John. So this is pretty good. Very good actually. Sapphire Chromicon. This card is just good because it's one of those instant lore cards that's very hard to stop. Unfortunately, it's not instant like Goat is. You do have to wait 1 turn because the item comes into play exerted. However, you tap it, you pay 2, and you banish one of your items, you gain 2 lore. It could, in a pinch, banish itself too. So you can just have that 1 item on the field and then say, well, my opponent can't stop me because I have this, and this, and I don't know, whatever. It's a good card to go for game. It has good combos. Say you have Tamatoa on the board with like 5 items. You can Lucky Dime, you Tamatoa, you get another item out, you banish the item, you got Sapphire. It's just got combos. It's one of those item things. Blue loves to gain lore via items. There's Ariel in play too. It's just good. Good card. Chicha, Dedicated Mother. I cannot believe this card is a 2 cost. Having this ability on the second turn is insane. It also has support. What? During your turn, when you put a card into your inkwell, if it's the second card you've put into your inkwell this turn, you may draw a card. Think about how easy it is for blue to put cards into the discard for the second time. You have Mickey Mouse, you have Fishbone Quill, you have Great Stone Dragon, you have Tipo, you have a whole bunch of different cards that can get the second ink into the inkwell on that turn, and Chicha just lets you draw it for free. Wow. Like you draw, like you just replenish your hands, and that's something that is so incredibly needed in Sapphire to support that item spam. It's wow, so good. At number 4, we have Basil Practice Detective. 1 cost, 2/1 character with support. When you just look at this card, you think it's a common, it's just another throwaway common, whatever. But this is one of the most powerful cards in the meta right now because it's a very, very, very solid answer against Daisy Duck. The other person plays Daisy Duck. Turn 1, you play Basil. Next turn, you play anything with Rush. On turn 2, there's a lot of cards in red with Rush. You tap your Basil, you get a lore, you infuse that Rush character with 2 strength from your support, and then you can run over Daisy Duck immediately. It's just a very important combo because this is one of the cards in blue that will be very important at getting rid of Daisy Duck early on. And the Floodborn character afterwards isn't that bad. It's a pretty solid Floodborn too. So if you're running this Basil, you could find space for that Floodborn as well. So I think that Basil is just pretty good. It's one of the best 1-drops in the entire set. Now into the top 3 cards. King Candy Sweet Abomination. It is a shift 3 Floodborn that shifts on top of King Candy that we talked about earlier. When you play this character, you may draw 2 cards and then put a card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. So it has draw power. It sort of replaces itself with its ability, and it's a shift 3 that quests for 2. It's good. It's good. Like you can play King Candy on turn 1. You can wait a little bit. Turn 3, boom, you draw King Candy Floodborn. You draw 2 cards. You keep your hand nice and healthy. It's a very good addition to blue at the moment. Number 2 is Sheriff of Nottingham Bushel Breeches. 9 cost, uninkable, but for each item you have in play, you pay 1 less to play this character. Wow. When have you ever been facing a blue deck where they didn't have at least 3 items in play? Like, be honest. This is by any means a 6-cost card. It is a 6-cost card that quests for 4 lore and has 5 strength and has 9 willpower and it has support. It's just an amazing card. I feel like if you're running Tamatoa, because Tamatoa can quest for whatever amount of lore, you're going to be running Sheriff of Nottingham too. It's the same kind of thing. You may not be running as many Sheriff of Nottingham because he is uninkable, so you don't want to run too many, but it's just good. It's so powerful. And finally, the king of all kings, number 1, Mufasa, ruler of Pride Rock. 8 cost, uninkable, 4/9. When you play this character, exert all cards in your inkwell, then return 2 cards at random from your inkwell to your hand. This single card essentially doubles your inkwell size, so you can play whatever cards you want in the next couple turns. Basically, when you get Mufasa out, you win the game. There's almost nothing your opponent can do to slow you down, because getting rid of Mufasa is almost impossible. He can't be Medusa'd, and he also can't be World's Greatest Criminal Minded, so there's no removal cards that work on him. It's just GG. What I think is really funny to think about is how do we determine what random is in the inkwell? Like, what do you have to pick up the whole inkwell? You shuffle it up and then have your opponent decide. You can roll an n-sided dice of whatever number shows up, and then you pick that number from a lineup. I don't know what the actual protocol is for picking randomly 2 cards randomly from your inkwell, so that'll be fun to figure out. We're just gonna play it by ear. All right, I'm done yapping for now. That is my ranking of all of these Sapphire cards. Let me know what you think of these cards in the comments below. I would love to see your opinions as well. Maybe I've overlooked some things, or maybe I'm just completely wrong. I will be posting a breakdown of all of the different colors coming in set 5, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and always have a good day.